Okay, everybody, here we go with God and the problem of evil. And this is not a long lecture here. So let's begin. So first, let's start off with a quick discussion of the attributes, the typical attributes of the Judeo-Christian Islamic God, right? The features, the qualities that this God is supposed to have. There are others, but we're going to discuss the Judeo-Christian Islamic God in these terms, right? First of all, he, she, it, whatever the case is omnibenevolent, which is the quality of being supremely or all good. Some people describe that as being morally perfect, right? Unable to do bad. Um, Omnipotence, which is all powerful, right? There's nothing that is beyond the power or capability of this God. And finally, there's omniscience, which is the quality of being supremely or all-knowing, fully and totally conscious of everything at all times in all ways possible. Past, present, future, all. So we've got those three attributes that are working here. Omnibenevolence, all goodness, omnipotence, all powerfulness, and omniscience, all knowingness or all consciousness, right? Now, also, there are three classic types of arguments for the existence of this God that have been put forth in one form or another, right? So let's take a look at those. They each have a name because of the style of argumentation that's being used to prove, ostensibly, the existence of God. So first is the ontological type of argument. And that's an attempt to demonstrate God's existence through a priori reasoning alone. That means that you're not appealing to any feature of the universe or the world and saying, hey, there must be a God because look at this, look at that, look at the other thing that I can observe. You are simply attempting to deductively demonstrate that God must exist, considering the definition of God. And this is St. Anselm's argument for the existence of God is considered the ontological type. Descartes levied one too. Then there's the cosmological argument for the existence of God. This is considered an a posteriori attempt to demonstrate God's existence, right? A posteriori, meaning having to appeal to experience in order to make your argument, or features of the world, sensory data, right? So that is where you're trying. So a cosmological argument is where you're moving from the existence of the universe or some feature of it and saying, well, there must be a God, right? Something must have created everything that I can behold in the world. So God, it must be God, and God must exist. And then there's a teleological sort of argument for the existence of God. Again, it's describing the reasoning techniques that are used. This also is an a posteriori attempt to demonstrate the existence of God, right? But it's slightly different from the cosmological, right? Cosmological says, behold, look out in the world, look at this, that, and the other. Can you imagine? There must have been some sort of creator. And these arguments those cosmological arguments get very crafty. That's Aquinas and his 5 ways, for instance. Several of these are cosmological, right? But with teleological, that is where you try to demonstrate God's existence by noting that because some features of the world seem to behave as if they had a purpose or a design, there must have been a designer. So notice the similarity between cosmological and teleological, right? They're very similar with a slight difference in the style of reasoning. right? If you've ever heard, for instance, if you've ever heard the phrase intelligent design, right? That would be a teleological argument. Now, moving toward the problem of evil, this is Epicurus, who lived in 341 to 270 BC, and he has a quote going like this: "Is God willing to prevent evil but not able? Then he's not omnipotent. Is he able but not willing? Then he's malevolent, meaning not omnibeneficent. Is he both able and willing? Then whence cometh evil? Is he neither able nor willing? Then why call him God?" So this has been something that's perplexed thinkers for a long time. Now, before we get into the problem of evil specifically, I just wanted to note that you can just take another approach to this whole matter of whether or not God's existence, like St. John of Damascus did in the 7th century current era, right? He said, no rational proof of God's existence is possible. God's existence is known in some other non-rational way, right? So the idea here is this, is that even if the rational attempts to prove God's existence fail and result in what is known as the problem of evil, you can sidestep the problem by saying, look, you are using a mode of thought that was God-given in the first instance, and it's just too blunt a tool to prove the existence of something like God, right? Reason and rational proofs are one of the ways that human beings come to understand things, but they're one amongst many, and it's not the way that you prove God's existence. You don't lay it out in a deductive argument and then show that you have inconsistencies, right? It's like trying to cut a tree down, a huge sequoia down with a spoon. Know what I mean? So you can always sidestep the problem by agreeing with St. John of Damascus and say, God's existence is known through, for instance, revelation or intuition or through the passions, right? But reason is too blunt a tool. You can go that way. But for our purposes here, let's continue on to the problem of evil. So then just follow along with me here. It goes like this, starting with the first premise. If God is omnibenevolent or all good, then he has the desire to eliminate evil. And if God is omnipotent or all-powerful, then he's able to eliminate evil. And if God is omniscient or all-knowing or all-conscious, then he knows that evil exists and he knows how to eliminate it. So, therefore, it follows that if God exists and is omnibenevolent, omnipotent, and omniscient, then evil does not exist. But evil does exist. Just take a look out in the world. Therefore, ultimately, an omnibenevolent, omnipotent, and omniscient God does not exist. Now, a note here, right? This argument this is a valid argument. Its soundness, or whether or not its premises are factually true, is something that can be held to question, right? For instance, you can say, what exactly do you mean by evil? Correct? And many thinkers go off and start to establish what exactly they think about evil and what exactly evil means, right? But that's for another, go to Philosophy of Religion for that further discussion, or do some research on your own. But ultimately, once you lay the argument out like this, you're faced with a choice, right? And therein lies the dilemma. You can either deny the existence of the triple omni-God, or you can deny the existence of evil. Evil, let's just clear it up here. Evil is understood as just badness in the world: death, destruction, mayhem, chaos, famine, disease. If you equate all of those with evil, then that is the choice you have. Either deny that those things exist or deny that God has those three features: omnipotence, omnibenevolence, and omniscience. And do you really want to do that? Or do you want to deny this? Right? So therein lies the dilemma, everybody. And that's classically known as the problem of evil.